want a second look.
Yeah, there's something about this one, isn't there? Familiar somehow.
We think we're stuck in a specific fragment in time, and we've been repeating that same fragment over and over again.
But the flirting's over, Sherlock. Daddy's had enough now.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV reviews and connections in mind. Star Trek Lower Decks has dropped its 4th season on Paramount+. All 10 episodes are now streaming. It is once again helmed by showrunner Mike McMahon and still follows the antics of Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, and Rutherford on the USS Cerritos. And you get to up into all sorts of the usual hijinks, but we got some interesting twists in this season and some important character growth as well. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Lower Decks Season 4, as well as certain other things. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, but just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. So, first up, let's talk some spoiler-free talk on Lower Decks Season 4. Is it any good? Is it worth your time? Is it any good Star Trek? I would say absolutely. Lower Decks, it took me a little bit to win me over completely from the first season. I was, afraid that it was just going to be, a reference. Oh, why aren't you laughing? We're referencing these things, Trekkie. But really, the show lives and dies not only on, making all these kinds of references that the kind of Trekkies would be able to get, but also being just good storytelling and fun characters to be around and wanting to tune in every week to see what these characters are up to. And if you liked Lower Decks up to this point, you're gonna like season 4 as well. I feel like, because you got all the references. You got some great callbacks to running jokes from seasons past. However, they may have overplayed a couple of the running jokes, but I like the callbacks from even within the season. References they make in the first or second episode are brought back randomly in the last episode. So these are the kind of things that they made me chuckle, but they didn't want to keep coming back on that point. Also, I said it now. I hadn't said it before. I'll say it again. The animation is always top notch. The nice thing about animation compared with live action is you can accurately recreate these settings and these weird alien species. Say what you will about the original Star Trek the Animated Series, but they were able to go to strange new worlds that couldn't possibly have been made on shoestring 60s TV budgets. And same with Lower Decks, they could go to all these kinds of landscapes and settings that you couldn't do, or at least maybe you could on especially with the astronomical budgets some of these shows get, but you couldn't do it consistently. And Lower Decks is able to do that consistency. Like, they're able to go back and explore various portions of Trek worlds that were mentioned or referenced in other series that we never got around to revisiting, such as there's one episode where we get to go to Ferenginar. And it's not just a blurry matte painting anymore. You get to go deep dive into the world of Ferenginar and alright, so what does this world look like that we've heard so much about but only barely seen in Deep Space Nine? That's just one example. There's so many other things that they go to. You get old characters come back from not just Lower Decks, but various Star Trek properties. You get fun cameos as well from various things. Like I said, there's the Ferenginar episode where you get the reprise of Chase Masterson and Max Grodinchik, who played Leela and Rom on Deep Space Nine. They come back to voice these characters after 20 years absence. So that's the fun of this kind of series. Where I feel like this series is starting to maybe lose a little steam. Maybe it's just me, but again, not going into any spoilers per se. in this section, but given the character development that we've seen in this episode, and given that, yes, there's a lot of recurring jokes on this, and some of the recurring jokes are fun, the fact that some of them are a bit overplayed at this point, it makes me want to ask the question at this point, okay, what's left? Where are we going with this? Because, if you think about Trek series prior, when these series finally ended their runs, okay, Star Trek, the original series, and Star Trek Enterprise got canceled early. Okay, that's one thing. But Next Generation ended its run after 7 seasons because they kind of ran out of creative juice a little bit. They were running out of ideas. Deep Space Nine ended with the Dominion War. The Dominion War was their big seasons 5, 6, and 7 arc, and then once that ends, like, all right, that's a great place to end the series. Voyager, all right, we've flown the ship to the end of the galaxy. How did they get home? They either get home or they die. Well, they get home. Spoilers, I guess, for Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, but then again, those series are all 20 years old at this point. So with Lower Decks, it's like, okay, these are the adventures of these junior officers on this second-rate ship. Where do you end with that? Do you end with a definite endpoint in mind, or do you just keep going until you run out of creative juices? My fear is this is going to be that latter, unless they come up with something big to establish it. They declare one final season, and then they have a definitive endpoint there. They're just going to run until they run it into the ground, and that's a shame because this kind of series, it has a potential to end on a great note instead of if you go back to my analysis of running out of creative juices, not to say that All Good Things, the series finale of Next Gen, wasn't a good note to end on, a great series finale, but you know what I'm saying, right? Don't just keep running it until it's going until it dies from lack of creative juices. Just I want it to go out on a high note, and this is the season where I'm starting to ask the question: where are we going from here? So that doesn't necessarily diminish my enjoyment of the season, far from it, but it does bring up some important questions. So, and if you watch this season, and if you've been following it up to this point, I'm curious to see whether you have those same thoughts as well. So, that being said, if I was going to give Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4 a letter grade, I would say this is a solid A-. A lot of fun. You got some great recurring gags, but as with all comedies, there are some jokes that just don't land as well, and but your mileage will vary. So I'm curious to see which ones yours as well. I'll get into some favorites here in a second, which is a great transition for me to say that those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. This is where I need, we talk about specifics here. So there's, as far as connections to things prior or elsewhere, I really only had one obvious one that I kind of wanted to talk about, and that was the episode Empathological Fallacies, which I believe was episode 6. Where the 3 Betazoid women go onto the Cerritos, and they're telepathic. Zengi fever, I think, and they're telepathically making all of the crew go insane and and romp around, and their emotions are heightened. All the while, T'Lyn, the Vulcan lieutenant, she's writing a letter to her former commander, who we saw she had a disagreement with in season 3. She's writing letters like, all right, I've been living with these humans too long. I need to transfer back to your ship. And then by the end, she learns her lessons. Like, all right, no, never mind. I'm going to stay. I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to send that letter. Made me think of an episode of Stargate SG-1 from season 8 called 0 Hour, where General Neil, he's just been promoted, and he's writing a letter to General Hammond, his previous commanding officer, and now he's like, "Oh, General, I can't do this job the way you could." And, by the end of the episode, he's like, we zoom in on the letter, he's like, never mind. So that is a similar vibe, I thought, with that episode. But on top, aside from that, there was, I didn't have a whole ton of obvious comparisons. You could always obviously point to references to callbacks to various episodes of Trek's past, but that's kind of the basis of the episode itself, such as one of my favorites from the season was Tuvix, the season premiere, where all the Star Trek Voyager references to Voyager. I mean, that's that and Enterprise are the two Star Trek series that I grew up with, because those were airing right when I was getting into Star Trek, and Tuvix, great callback to a controversial episode from Voyager. Also, the second episode, the I Have No Bones, Yet I Must Flee. Moopsie, that was a hilarious twist, and again, an example of the kind of creature that can only work in animation and can never work in live action, in my opinion. But those are my favorites. But aside from that, when I was referring to running jokes that seem overplayed, Badgie used to be my favorite character my favorite guest character, I should say, from season 1. I loved his callback in season 2. I think they brought him back in season 3 as well. Now we're here in season 4. They do some different things with him, and they kind of give him a way to end the arc, but have him still around. I'm like, I don't know why it didn't strike the same hilarity as it did in times past, but maybe it's just the rule of comedy where it's like, you tell the same joke enough times and it stops being funny, I guess. And to me, Badgie felt overplayed. I think it was probably once too many, in my opinion, and that's kind of a shame. But my main, I guess, complaint of this season is the whole mystery with the mystery ship seemingly destroying these ships from various worlds. You get insights into the lower decks of Klingons, of Ferengi, and Romulans. The Romulans lower decks was hilarious. And speaking of Romulans, the empathological fallacies, when the Sirius is on a collision course with the neutral zone and about to cross over, but then they steer away at the last second. Then the Romulan warbird decloaks and you just hear, "Aww!" It's like, that made me laugh out loud. That was a great time joke, in my opinion. But, so you have, like I said, the mystery ship, and then it's finally revealed that it's Nick Locarno. And get the joke of, it's like, oh man, he looks a lot like Tom Paris. It's like, I don't see it. It's like, yes, of course, because Nick Locarno and Tom Paris were both played by Robert Duncan McNeil. So that was, haha funny on that. But then you reveal the mystery, and it's like, really? This is it? This was the big mystery the whole time? It's not really funny. It's not really dramatic. It just gives you an opportunity to do another Wrath of Khan reference. And I'm like, okay. Like, that just kind of fell flat for me. And it's a complaint I have with a lot of, serialized storytelling where they're building a mystery. It's like, if you're building up a mystery, for episode after episode or even season after season, you gotta make it land. And if it doesn't land, that's gonna taint everything that came before it. And unfortunately, that was one of the reasons why I had to ding this season a little bit, because that mystery, it didn't land for me really at all. But like I said, your mileage may vary. What did you think of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next TV review, which will be for Loki Season 2. I believe we've got a couple more episodes left, and then they'll do my season review of that, as well as my next movie review, which will be for The Marvels, which is coming out in about a week's time from now. So look for that. And if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.